Welcome to Wonders and Miracles podcast, where we celebrate miraculous moments in everyday lives. I'm Liza Lawrence. I'm glad to have you join me as we celebrate wonders and miracles together. All right. Well, I'm excited today to be here with my amazing sister, Melissa, and she is going to share with us her journey of the past 2 years, and it's very God-led journey. So it was super cute. She surprised us. We thought maybe she was pregnant or something. A new member of their family was coming, and it was a miracle house. So she's going to take us on this journey of her miracle house and how that all fell into place over kind of the past year, but 2 years of being really led by God to a certain location. So Melissa, I'm excited to have you on the podcast today, and thank you for being willing to share this beautiful story with us.
You are so welcome. I love that I get to be here with you, Liza. Honestly, I just feel like God is constantly showing us his amazing power and miracles. So our story, I'm going to kind of jump back in time quite a ways. It's starting in 2010, actually. So 10 years ago, we were in a small town in Idaho, and I felt the urge to put our house that we were currently owning and in on the market. There was no reason. My husband's job wasn't changing. There was no reason for it, but I just felt like I'm just going to put this on the market. So I did that, and I loved the thought, honestly, that we might be moving. We might be going into a newer home and a new location. I love new things. I love change. So that was exciting to me. Several people came to look, and we had 2 offers. But oddly, nothing ever worked out. 2 years later, in 2012, my husband was promoted to a new position at work. This position change, it required that he work almost 3 hours away from where we were currently. So we hadn't found a buyer yet, so we decided to rent our home. We moved, and we began renting a small apartment in the new location. We thought everything was going great. 3 months in, I received a foreclosure notice from the lender of our home. Well, I called to get more information, and I was told that they had noticed that our mortgage payments were coming from a new bank location, and that they assumed by that the home was being rented, that it was not homeowner occupied. And because of that, they had the right to foreclose on us.
Wow.
It blew my mind because we had never missed a payment. We had never been late. There was in my head absolutely no reason to take this course of action. They were getting their money. Was that not enough? But the foreclosure had already begun. We were already, apparently, according to them, 30 days in. So we had 90 days to either sell the home, move back into it, or to foreclose. Now, this was in 2012 when the housing market was at its lowest point, and we were actually upside down in the house because we had bought in 2007. So we bought at the peak, and now we're trying to sell at the lowest point. Long story short, after doing all that we could do, including taking out a personal loan to try and help offset the price so that it would sell, we lost the home to the bank. And it was devastating. It was embarrassing. It was unfair. Honestly, on so many different levels, it was quite traumatizing.
Yeah.
I share that because this will come back full circle in just a little bit. Fast forward 6 years to January of 2018. Well, 16 years of dedicated hard work for my husband's employer. My husband's name is Tony, by the way. He decided to take a leap of faith and start his own business. By May, this business was doing really well, and I could see kind of this projection of, this is really going to take off if we stay here. And do I want to stay here? I kind of started thinking. So jokingly, I asked, honey, your business is going to do great. Do you think there's any way we could just take this new business to St. George before it gets really big here in Twin Falls, and then we won't be able to move? The reason St. George, Utah was because every January for the last 5 years, we had gone to St. George, mostly to get me out of the dreary, cold, dark Idaho winters. And I loved St. George. Well, in May, again, he laughed at me and he said, "Oh, you're going to hate it there in the summers. It's way too hot." I kind of chuckled and I thought, no, I love hot. It's you that doesn't love hot, but I love hot. I think I'm going to like it. So throughout the month of May, I kept joking, but it kind of became a little more serious. And I suggested we test it out because we would be driving through St. George on our way home from a family reunion that we were going to be having in Arizona early July. So that's what we did. After being in the deserts of Arizona with temperatures of 115, when we drove into St. George, it looked like a green oasis. It was brilliant, though unintentional marketing on my part. I did not intend for it to work that way, but it did. And Tony just said, "Oh my goodness, St. George is gorgeous. Look how green. And it's not that hot. It's only 103. So we all loved it. And we spent the next day and night just driving around neighborhoods, parks, getting a better feel for the area. So when we got home, I started looking online for rentals. I really wanted this. But everything that I found was gone within 24 hours of being posted. It was a hot market. So then I just thought, you know what? I need to take a step back and I need to really gather information and see what our family really wants to do, to include not just my own faith, but our kids, and get God's input on this whole idea, because that's all it really was. It was an idea. So we all sat down together and we really talked about what a move like this would mean for each of us individually and as a family. Our oldest son was going to be a senior in high school that August. So we didn't want to ruin anything for him. Senior year is a big deal. And my youngest daughter, was finally in a dance team that she was loving. She was excelling at it. They were getting their groove on. So I wanted to let them know that this wasn't a God-driven impression or inspiration. It was simply something that I wanted. And Tony was so sweet to support me in it. He said, "Yeah, let's start a business down there." After a lot of the discussion, and everybody went off and had individual prayers about if they should do this or not, we decided to come back together and we decided, yeah, we want to move. Not a should, but we want to move. So we all knelt down together and prayed and asked if this family decision of ours was something that God could support us in and that He would send us miracles so that it could happen. This was such a beautiful experience. Every single one of us can truly witness that His love and His Spirit came into our hearts. It was felt like an overwhelming, "Yes, I'll support you. I'll bless you in this." We were all crying. And then after we were all crying, we all started laughing and we were giddy and we were like, "Oh my gosh, we're moving to St. George. Oh my gosh." It truly was just thrilling to experience a decision like this and a dream in this way, knowing that God is fully backing our desire. So then I began looking for rentals again. I pulled them right up on the computer and started applying. And truly within a few hours, I got a call back from a landlord and we were able to secure a rental. It was that fast.
That's awesome.
It was a serious miracle that we got the rental we did, truly, because the price for one thing, and then the location, I have zero doubt that God placed us there. So move forward now to June of 2019. I began feeling a really strong impression that I was supposed to start looking for a home to buy. This honestly came out of nowhere because I knew that in order to even qualify for a home, when we had been self-employed only for 1.5 years, I was like, no, that's not going to work. I also knew that because of the foreclosure back in 2012, that our credit would not look good. We had only been out of that really bad mark on your credit for about 3 months. And so I was like, no lender is even going to touch us. There's no way we could do this. So I was really struggling with this prompting and impression, and it felt pretty powerful, really strong. And I just was wrestling with this for the month of June. The end of June, My sisters were actually visiting.
I came to visit.
Yes, you were there.
And your rental was wonderful. It was a beautiful location, beautiful home.
Yes, it was. It was such a gift from God.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't looking to change anything. So to have this feeling was so out of the blue for me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we were out sitting on the porch, just chatting away. And all of a sudden, a gal and her husband from our church drove by on their bikes. And I waved. I was like, "Hi, Jennifer, how are you?" And so they stopped and they walked over and we started chatting. And through our conversation, she said, "I'm really excited, Melissa. I just finished passing the real estate exam and I have my realtor's license now. I'm so excited." I said, "Oh, Jen, that's so great. I'm excited for you." She goes, "Oh, would you be willing? I know this is weird, but would you be willing to pretend to be clients and I can practice walking clients through houses? Would you be willing to do that for me so I can get practice?" Well, it stunned me, honestly, for a moment. I thought, are you joking? Wait, really? Because the Lord knows me so well. And he knew I would not call a realtor or I would not on my own start looking at houses. So he sent this sweet, amazing angel to do it in a way that I would feel comfortable moving forward with. So that's what we did for the next 3 months. July, August, and September, I got to pretend to be all these different types of clients for this woman. We walked through dozens of homes. And I was able to get a better grasp of what the market was like here, what homes were selling for, what kind of homes were even an option. Well, and I didn't even know what kind of an option because financially, I had no idea what we would even qualify for, if we would even qualify. I was just kind of walking blindly, but walking forward anyway. And by the way, I had told no one about my impressions or thoughts. Seriously, they were just between God and I. Tony didn't know, Jen didn't know, no one knew. Then in September, I did tell Jen. I said, "Jennifer, I need to let you know something." And I told her of my impressions, and almost like there was kind of an urgent push to them. And she was such a gem. She did not even bat an eye, but she said, "Okay, well, I know that God can work the impossible, but I also know that we have to do our part. And our job is to find the house." So we just moved forward and kept looking. Well, in October, my life got really stressful. So much so that basically I told the Lord and Jen that I need a break. My sweetheart of a husband who knew nothing of my house hunting had planned a really big and expensive trip. And the trip scared me to death. We would be going to Europe and traveling by ourselves with no interpreter, no other couple, nothing. It was just us. And as exciting as that was, it scared the living daylights out of me. I had to like put everything on the back burner and say, I've just got to get through this adventure. Which sounds horrible. I mean, we're going to Europe. How exciting is that?
I know, I'd love that.
I know. For me, it was just riddled with anxiety and excitement, but so many anxieties on several levels, financial being one of them. So God was so kind and he just said, "Okay, I'll be silent." So he was silent the whole month of October. We're flying home November, I think 3rd it was. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting on this plane. Everyone is sleeping around me, and I can't sleep on planes. So I'm wide awake, just sitting there thinking, and into my mind comes a very strong push again. It's time, Melissa. It's time to find the home.
Wow.
And I thought, oh, you're kidding me. Really?
At least he waited till you were done with the trip.
Waited. I said, give me until after this trip. And I was flying home. The trip was done.
Love it.
So we got home. I slept for a day. And then I went to work. I do hair. And I got to work and there was a new client on my books. She showed up. We started having a fabulous conversation, just a very normal, how long have you lived in St. George? How many kids do you have? What do you do? You know, those kinds of things. And out of the blue, and every time she did this, she would turn and she would look at my eyes.
I love it.
Look at me and she'd go, your husband loves the land. He has a very deep connection to earth, doesn't he? And I was like, yes. What in the world? That was weird. We weren't talking about Tony. She did not know what he did. By the way, he is a horticulturalist. He does landscape design work and teaches classes about the earth. He is very connected to earth. I just said, yeah, he loves being outside, and moved on. And she moved on. She was like, oh, that's cool. And then we started talking about her daughters and one of her daughters going to college. She did that a couple different times with some different random things. Another one was, and this was so odd, she turned and looked at me again. She goes, you love God, don't you? I was like, yes, I love God. And she said, no, not like a surface love. You deeply love and desire to do what he wants you to do. And I teared up. I was like, yes, I do want to do what he wants me to do. And she was like, I can tell. And then she turned around and just started chatting again about other things. It was so weird. It was tripping me out. Well, I had finished foiling her hair and then we were washing her hair out. And all of a sudden, she looks up at me again because her eyes were closed. She was enjoying the shampoo, right? All of a sudden, she opens her eyes and she looks at me and she goes, you need to buy a house. You need to find your house now. And I was like, oh. And she goes, are you looking? And I was like, well, kind of. I have been. She's like, oh, that's fun. Buying homes are so fun. And then she just closed her eyes and relaxed and started enjoying the shampoo again.
I love it.
So trippy, so creepy, so weird.
But such a messenger, right?
Such a messenger. Well, I came home and I was like, okay, was that of God or was that something else? Like, should I be creeped out or should I be praising the Lord with gratitude? What should I be? So I was sitting in this chair actually, and I was just pondering the events of that day. And I pulled up the housing market again. And I just started glancing and looking and looking and looking. And there was a new listing. And I found it and I was like, oh my gosh, this looks really cute. So I clicked on all the pictures and I fell in love. I fell in love with this house. And I'm going to call it the Boulders house, okay? Because it was in a subdivision called the Boulders. So I text Jen and I was like, Jen, I'm back from my trip. And I know you might think I'm crazy, but I think it's time to start looking again. Not 30 seconds later, she calls me on the phone. My phone rings and she's like, are you serious? I said, am I crazy? Do I need counseling? I just don't even know what is going on, Jen. This is crazy. We just spent so much money over in Europe. And now I'm like, oh, let's buy a house. She laughed and she's like, Melissa, I have to tell you, for the last 3 days, I had been home for 3 days. I have been at war with the Holy Ghost because it has been telling me, prompting me, you need to call Melissa. You need to set up times to look at houses. It's time. It's time. It's time. And she was like, I am not a pushy person. I am not going to push her into this. She told me she was taking a break. This is, I'm not doing that. So she was like, I'm so glad you called me because I was fighting God.
I love it.
So we set up some other houses to go look at, and I showed her the Boulders house. I told her to look this up. So she looks it up, she pulls it up on her computer and she goes, Melissa, I love you. And I love you so much that I'm going to say no to this because this home is at least $200,000, if not $300,000 over your price range. And I don't want you to fall in love with something you can't have. So then I argued. I was like, but Jen, remember, God is a God of miracles. And if I'm supposed to have this house, he is going to make it possible. So all of a sudden there was this fire in me, like, no, God is a God of miracles. I can have what I want. He'll let me.
I love it.
So that was really important for me to shift my vibration to something where I believed that God would give me what I wanted.
Yeah.
And what I needed. So we start looking at houses. She did not make me an appointment to go see that house. She was really like, let's just keep looking. There's some other homes that have come on the market that are more in your price range. Let's go. So we started looking that week. on that Saturday, so that was on like a Tuesday. Saturday, she gives me a call. I was just getting ready to go out the door with my daughters to go watch the new Frozen 2 that was coming out. And she calls me, she's like, Melissa, there's an open house for a home that I really think you need to go through. And I said, is it the Boulders house? She said, no, it's not. It's something else, but I want you to go through it. Let's go right now. I was like, oh, we'd have to go right now because I've got movie tickets with my daughters. She goes, okay. And I said, give me the address. Let me look it up really quick. So I looked it up. I had seen this home online. I had seen the pictures. I was not interested. The pictures were horrible, quite honestly. And the descriptions were bad. I mean, it was just like a, no, moving on. So I told her that. I said, you know what? I really don't want to go see this house. I've seen it online for a month or two. I'm not interested. Melissa, come on. So I show up. She shows up. We go into this house. My daughters were with me because we were going to head to the movies right after. I kid you not, the minute we walk in, just past the doorway, and there was the knowing. I can't explain it other than the knowing that this is our home. This is our home, not just house, but home. And I'm totally going to cry because it was amazing. There was a lot of things about the house, cosmetic-wise, that I thought, ugh, I don't really love this and I don't love that. But the feeling that was there was, this is ours. This is our home. It really was just coming home. And I had not had that feeling for probably over a decade. So to walk into that was so unexpected for me. And I just had to do all I could to just keep it together, Melissa, keep it together. And I didn't want to get my girls involved or prejudice anything. And I was struggling mentally because this house didn't look the way I anticipated my house looking. But yet this was my house. And then there was the Boulders house in the back of my head, like, but what about that house? So we go through, we leave, we go to the movies. I'm just processing and pondering. We come out and I call Jen and I make an appointment and I say, listen, I have to see the Boulders house. I need to walk through that home. I need to walk through it. So she said, okay, I'll trust you on that. In the meantime, I got a hold of Tony and said, honey, there's some homes that I want you to come through with me. He's like, what?
So he hadn't known any of this still?
Nothing. He knew nothing except that I was being nice to our friend Jen, walking through homes with her, and that I was dreaming. That's it. So when I said, I want you to come and walk through 2 homes with me on Monday, he's like, what? What are you talking about? And I said, it's time. It's time for us to buy a home. He went kind of silent and I could feel him just shut down. He shut down so hard. And he goes, okay, well, I can walk through things. That's fine. He's such a supportive person. So you need to understand, he wanted to support me, but yet he was a 0, like, no way. At the end of the day, this is not happening. So Monday comes and we actually started out at the Boulders house. And he's there and the kids are all there and we go through that house and it is a gorgeous home. And it had all the bells and whistles, truly. Beautiful yard. I mean, everything that I had ever said I wanted was in this house. And it was not mine. And I knew it. It was such a beautiful experience of letting go. Because I saw and I was in what I thought I wanted. And yet that desire was released from me. It wasn't my house. So I could just let it go. And then the next house we went through was the open house. And we walked in, we're walking around, and Tony was loving it and impressed. And, oh, this is nice. Yeah, this is great. Yeah. Oh, this is great. Nice. I like this. I like that. And the girls and I just walked through. And when we left that house, my daughter Sarah was with me in the car and she goes, Mom, that's our house, isn't it? And I just kind of teared up a little bit. I'm like, did you feel that? She goes, yes, that is totally our house, Mom. We have got to buy that house.
Cute.
I think so. I think it is. So the new dilemma and challenge was to get Tony on board. This is why I told the beginning story of losing our house, because the next 5 months became a journey of he and I letting go of trauma, getting through major hurt and belief and doubt and pain. I had no idea how traumatized he had been from that foreclosure and how much he had just stuffed and not allowed to face and deal with. And it was a beautiful process watching him turn to God to have that released. And that in itself became a huge miracle, getting to a point where he opened up to allowing God to show abundance in his life and blessings in his life. And it has translated into his business. Our business was doing great here, but since we bought this home, since he went through that miracle cleansing, I'm going to say, his business has more than doubled. It's like he needed to let go of that to trust that God has so much to pour out to him, and the gifts and the blessings that he has for Tony are immeasurable. So that is the story of our miracle home. And there's so many more things. The financial end, it was crazy, the hoops we had to jump through, but that God placed people in our lives, the lender that he connected us with, he knew what he was doing, and he knew all of the paperwork, all of the things he needed to get done in order for this to happen. And the postponing and the extension of the contracts that the seller was willing to do, like, oh, sure, we can extend it another month. Not a big deal. That's totally fine. I mean, who does that? But she was willing to do that. And that's exactly what we needed to push through that 2-year mark so that we could qualify for things. It's just amazing, everything that went into place that God put in place and made happen so that we could have our home. And now we are in our home, loving it. It is our home. The other huge gift that I feel I have to mention is the timing of all of this and why the urgency. God knows the end from the beginning, and he knew that COVID would be coming. And then the other thing was financially, as odd as it sounds, the home prices here in St. George have actually increased. From the time that we purchased our home in March, yes, it took 5 months. In March we purchased, and since then the housing prices have increased 43%. Isn't that crazy? There is no way we could have purchased a home. We would not have qualified at all. We couldn't have afforded a home with prices the way they are. It's absolutely incredible, the timing and just the gift that this house is for us.
I love that. And I'm so happy for you. And it was so fun to hear your announcement. You made a cute little card. You'll have to send the picture to me. The cute little card of we're expecting a new member in our family. And we had a sister-in-law, a cute sister-in-law that actually did that one year and surprised everyone with a new baby. No one knew she was pregnant. Cute Rebecca. And we were all astonished, right? And so it was like, oh, I want to do that with this house. And we were all so happy for you and so surprised because it was just a fun, and that's your personality. You're just a fun, I want to surprise people. And
I love new. I love things. I love, oh, changes. Ooh, surprise. I do. But it was also partly because we just didn't know, like so much was in the Lord's hands. We were kind of like, okay, we found this and now it's just up to him. And it was crazy. I knew logically if we were to tell people, they would send a lot of doubt energy, and I couldn't deal with that. I was like, I can't handle questions. I can't handle, how is this going to work? How can you guys afford this? I can't handle that because I don't know.
Right.
So that was part of it too. But
yeah.
Thanks.
Well, fun. Well, we are excited to come visit. We still haven't seen your new baby, your new house.
Well, we've got a guest room for you all ready and waiting.
Hooray. So I love the journey, and I'm glad you mentioned this, that the miracles of healing through our past, I think, are so beautiful. That's one of my passions, is to watch people heal, and even myself, to watch people heal through those past traumas. And those really are traumas to us that, when we feel like we've failed, or that we don't have worth, in some way.
Something was so
Unfair, right? Yes, almost violent. Like, that wasn't fair to me. So to have him really acknowledge and work through that probably was such a beautiful healing process. And I am so happy for him and you that you got to go through that and now are seeing the blessings from that experience.
Yeah,
it's beautiful. Thank you so much. Beautiful story. And I'm so happy that you shared it.
Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you so much for listening to this miracle story. Please subscribe to my channel if you liked it.